Who is this guy? The Mafia boss exploded with jealousy when he saw his assistant on a date. The restaurant was quiet enough for important men, but loud enough that no one should notice Luca Rossi walking in. Still, the moment he crossed the entrance, the air seemed to shift. Two security guards in dark suits stayed at the door while Luca walked forward with steady steps, confident shoulders, and eyes that scanned the room like a camera always recording. He was not there for pleasure. A business associate insisted on a quick meeting before midnight. Luca hated changing plans, but he agreed. What he did not expect was to have every part of his night ripped apart in seconds. 10 steps inside, he froze. His heartbeat changed pace. His jaw tightened. Olivia Parker. She was there, at a small, elegant table near the window, and she was not alone. Luca's eyes narrowed without him realizing. Olivia laughed softly at something the man across from her said. A real laugh, not forced. Not polite. A real, warm laugh he had never heard from her inside his office. She leaned forward a little, brushing her hair behind her ear. The man smiled and reached for her hand over the table. Luca almost stopped breathing. Who is this guy? The question hit him with a weight he was not prepared for. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. His assistant, his Olivia, was on a date. A real date, with a real man, in a place Luca used for important meetings. A waiter approached with a bright smile. Good evening, sir. Table for one? Luca didn't answer. His stare was locked on the scene across the room. Olivia, smiling like that. Olivia, dressed like that. Olivia, leaning closer to a stranger. The waiter followed Luca's gaze, then whispered, Oh, I see. She arrived earlier with, Don't finish that sentence. Luca's voice was calm but sharp. The waiter straightened instantly. Of course, sir. Would you like a table? Luca nodded slowly, as if pulling his eyes away from Olivia required physical strength. Something with a clear view. He didn't know why he said it. He didn't even pretend otherwise. The waiter led him to a table exactly 2 spots away from Olivia's. Luca sat, but didn't touch the menu. He did not care about food. He cared about the way the man across from Olivia leaned his elbows on the table like he already owned her attention. The man laughed again, loud, too loud. Luca felt his eyelid twitch. You're early, Eric, one of his men, said as he approached. Our contact is running behind. Sit. Luca's eyes stayed on Olivia. And tell me what you see. Eric followed his gaze, then made a small expression of realization. Ah, your assistant is here. With him. Luca's tone was flat, but a storm was building underneath. Eric scratched the back of his neck. Looks like a date. Luca didn't respond. His jaw tightened harder. He watched Olivia in silence. She looked different, softer, relaxed. Beautiful in a way he tried not to acknowledge at work. Her hair was loose tonight, falling naturally over her shoulders. Her blouse was simple but flattering. She almost glowed under the warm restaurant lights. And she didn't look scared or stressed like she always did when dealing with him. She looked happy. The man reached out and touched her wrist lightly. Luca leaned forward without noticing. His fingers curled around the edge of the table. When the man stood from the table, maybe to take a call, maybe to use the restroom, Luca's entire body reacted as if the opportunity had been handed to him on purpose. He stood. Boss? Eric whispered. But Luca was already walking toward Olivia. She was looking at the menu when she heard the steps. She lifted her eyes and almost dropped the glass she was holding. Luca? Her voice shook. She wasn't expecting him. She clearly wasn't ready for a collision of worlds. Luca stopped at the side of her table. His expression was unreadable, controlled, but his eyes were full of something sharp. Enjoying your night, Olivia? He asked. She swallowed. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing, but I don't need to. I can see exactly what this is. Her cheeks warmed. This is just dinner. Dinner, he repeated, as if the word offended him. With who? She blinked. A friend. A friend who touches your hand? Luca's tone dropped lower, deeper. A friend who makes you dress like this for him? Olivia's breath caught. This is not your business. He stepped closer. Everything you do is my business. She stood from her chair, trying to keep her voice steady. No, Luca. My work is your business. My life is mine. His eyes darkened. He wasn't used to being pushed back, especially not by her. Before he could answer, the date returned and froze mid-step. Oh, the man said awkwardly. You must be the boss. Olivia told me you're strict but fair. He extended his hand. Nice to meet you, man. Luca did not shake his hand. The man laughed nervously. Right, fair enough. Olivia tried to cut the tension. Luca, this is... I don't care who he is. Luca's voice was soft, too soft, the softness that came before danger. This dinner is over. Olivia's eyes widened. No, it's not. The man stepped between them slightly. Hey, look, I don't want trouble. Then leave, Luca said, low and quiet. Luca, Olivia snapped. She had never raised her voice to him. That single moment stunned them both. A waiter rushed by, breaking the silence for a second. Olivia grabbed her purse, took a breath, and glared at Luca. You don't get to control this, she said firmly. Not tonight, not ever. She took the man's arm and guided him back to their table. Luca stood still, chest tight. Something violent and unfamiliar swirling inside him. Not anger, not exactly. More like fear mixed with possession, a feeling he had spent years avoiding. He finally turned away and left the restaurant without another word. Outside, the cold air hit him like a slap. Eric followed him quickly. Boss, the meeting. It's canceled, Luca said. His voice was distant, controlled, but breaking underneath. He opened the car door, paused, and looked back at the glowing restaurant window. He could see Olivia laughing again with that man, a laugh he had never been able to pull from her. He sat in the back seat, staring forward. Find out who he is, Luca said quietly. His tone was calm, but his expression was anything but. Everything. I want it tonight. Eric nodded. The car pulled away, the city lights blurring outside the window. But Luca didn't move. His thoughts stayed in that restaurant, at that table, on the smile he wished had been meant for him. The last thing he whispered, so low no one else could hear. Who is this guy, Olivia? The next morning, the office felt different. Olivia stood on the sidewalk for a full minute before walking in. The tall glass building where she had worked for almost 2 years now seemed taller, colder, heavier. She adjusted the strap of her bag on her shoulder and took a slow breath. It was just dinner, she told herself. He is my boss. He has no right to be mad. But he had looked mad. Not just mad, hurt. And that part confused her more than anything. The security guard at the entrance greeted her with a polite nod. She smiled back, trying to look normal. Morning, Olivia, he said. Early as always. Old habits, she answered, forcing a little laugh. She crossed the lobby, took the elevator, and pressed the top floor button. As the doors closed, her reflection stared back at her. Tired eyes, tight jaw. She had barely slept. When the elevator opened on Luca's floor, everything was quiet. Too quiet. The assistant's area was in perfect order. Desks clean, screens on, coffee machine humming softly. Her own desk sat right outside Luca's office door. She placed her bag down, turned on her computer, and glanced at the closed door. No sound from inside, no sign of him. She checked the time. He usually arrived before her. Today he was late. Olivia tried to focus on emails, but she found herself reading the same line 3 times. Every time she looked up, her eyes went straight to that door. What if he regretted what happened? What if he fired her? What if he pretended nothing happened at all? The elevator chimed again. She heard footsteps, heavy, steady. Luca's walk. She didn't need to look to know it was him, but she did anyway. He stepped into the hallway wearing a dark suit, no tie, shirt slightly open at the collar. His hair was perfectly in place, his expression unreadable. Eric walked behind him with a tablet in hand. Luca's eyes moved over the floor, the windows, the staff, and then landed on her. For half a second, something flickered there. A memory of last night, the restaurant, the stranger, her laugh, his anger. Then his face closed again. "Good morning, Mr. Rossi," Olivia said quietly. He didn't answer. He walked past her, the faint scent of his cologne trailing behind, and went straight into his office. The door closed without a word. Eric stopped for a second near her desk. He gave her a brief look, half sympathy, half, "I don't want to get involved," and then followed Luca inside. Olivia let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Her hand was actually shaking. She hid it under the table and pressed her palm against her leg. "Okay," she thought. "So we're doing this. He's going to act like I don't exist." She tried to laugh it off, but it didn't feel funny. Minutes passed, then an hour. She answered calls, forwarded documents, scheduled meetings. Everything looked normal on the outside, but her stomach was tight. Finally, the intercom on her desk buzzed. "Olivia," Luca's voice came through, flat. "My office, now." Her pulse jumped. She stood quickly, smoothed the front of her blouse, and walked to the door. A small part of her wanted to turn around and go home, but she pushed it away. She knocked twice and entered. Luca stood by the large window, staring at the city. Eric sat in a chair with a serious look and a folder in his hand. "You wanted to see me?" she asked. Luca didn't turn around right away. He let a long silence fill the space first, like he owned even the air between them. Then he spoke. "Sit." Olivia sat in the chair in front of his desk. She kept her back straight, her hands on her lap. She felt like a student called into the principal's office, which made her angry. She hadn't done anything wrong. Luca walked slowly to his chair, sat and looked at her. His gaze was calm. Too calm. She almost preferred him shouting. "Tell me about last night," he said. Her stomach twisted. "Last night was my day off." "Do I look confused about what day it was?" he asked. "No," she said softly, "so I will say it again." He leaned back. "Tell me about last night." "It was dinner," she replied. "That's all." "Dinner with who?" Her jaw clenched. "A friend." His eyes hardened. "A friend." "Yes." "Do all your friends hold your hand across the table?" Olivia's face heated. "You were watching me." "I watch everything," he replied. "It is my job to know what happens around me, especially when it involves people who work for me." Her heart hit a little harder at that phrase. People who work for me. "So, now my private life is part of your job?" she asked. "Your private life?" He gave a short, humorless laugh. "There is no such thing for someone working this close to me. You know that." "I didn't sign a contract that says I can't have dinner in public," she pushed. "I didn't break any rules." "You broke my trust." The words came fast, almost like he hadn't meant to say them out loud. Olivia blinked. "What?" she breathed. "You went out with a man I don't know," he continued, leaning forward. "In a place I use for meetings. You exposed yourself. You exposed me. Nobody even knows I work for you," she said. "I don't walk around with a sign. You think people can't put the pieces together?" His tone sharpened. "You leave this building every day. You arrive with my drivers. You are on the top floor. You are seen with my men. You think no one notices?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. She had not thought about that part. Or maybe she had and ignored it because she wanted one normal night. "I am careful," she said. "I was not talking about you. I was not talking about your life. I was just trying to live mine for a few hours." Luca's jaw flexed. "Trying to live your life with him. There it is," she said quietly. "You are not worried about safety. You are jealous." The room went silent. Eric shifted in his chair, clearly wishing he was somewhere else. Luca's eyes darkened, but he did not deny it, not directly. He stood up instead and walked around the desk slowly, stopping beside her chair. "Stand up," he said. She hesitated, then obeyed. He stood close enough that she had to tilt her head up to meet his eyes. There was a quiet storm there, but also something else. Something raw that made her heart race for a reason that had nothing to do with fear. "I am responsible for you," he said, voice low. "For your safety, for what happens to you. That is not jealousy. That is control." She gave a little breathy laugh. "At least you admit it." He ignored the comment. You going out with strangers makes you vulnerable. That makes you a weak point, and I do not accept weak points. He is not a stranger, she answered. He is a friend of my cousin. Name? She frowned. Why? Name, he repeated. She crossed her arms. No, this is going too far. Too far. He stepped even closer. You think I will sit and do nothing while you let some man I don't know touch you in public? She stared at him, shocked by his honesty. You are my boss, Luca, not my boyfriend. His expression changed at the word. Something flashed in his eyes, something between pain and anger. Exactly, he said. Remember that. She stared at him, speechless. That answer hurt more than she expected. If you do not like my conditions, he went on, you are free to leave. The words cut through the air. She swallowed hard. Do you want me to leave? He hesitated for the smallest second. It was almost nothing, but she saw it. No, he said finally. I want you to think. That's all. She took a step back, her voice softer now but firm. I do think, Luca, all the time, and I think you have no idea how you sound right now. He turned away from her, hands on his hips, as if he didn't trust himself to keep looking at her. You can go, he said. She waited for a moment, hoping he would say something else. He didn't. She walked out of the office without another word, closing the door behind her as gently as she could. The click still felt loud. Eric exhaled slowly once she left. You want me to run her background again too? He tried lightly. It was a bad joke at a bad time, and he regretted it the second Luca stared at him. Find out everything about the man from last night, Luca said. Name, job, family. Everything. Eric nodded. Already on it. Luca sat back down, but he didn't open any file. He just stared at the surface of his desk, at the spot where Olivia had been standing moments ago. Not my boyfriend. The word echoed in his head. He knew what he was. He was her boss, the one who signed her paychecks, gave her orders, controlled her schedule. He had no right to tell her what to do with her free time. But the image of her laughing with another man still burned in his mind like a wound that refused to close. Hours passed. The office moved around him. Calls, reports, meetings. He did all of it by habit, almost on automatic mode, but his thoughts never went far from her. At lunchtime, he walked out of his office and stopped near Olivia's desk. She was typing, focused on the screen, pretending not to feel him there. Even from the side, he could see the tension in her shoulders. Did you eat? He asked. She looked up, surprised by the simple question. Yes. He nodded once and walked away. He had nothing else to say. By the end of the afternoon, the building was quieter. Some staff had already left. The sky outside the windows was turning orange and pink. Olivia's phone lit up on her desk. She glanced at Luca's closed door, saw no movement, and picked up. Hey, she said, voice softer. Yeah, I survived. He is being himself. A female voice answered on the other side, loud enough that a few words escaped. Olivia rolled her eyes and smiled a little. Please don't say I told you so. She spun slowly in her chair, facing away from the office door out of habit. She did not see the shadow on the frosted glass, or the way it paused. I know, she continued. It was just one dinner, but honestly, it felt nice, normal, like I was just a regular woman and not the assistant of a man who scares half the city. The voice on the phone said something that made her shake her head. No, I don't think I like him, she said quickly. Then she sighed. Okay, maybe I do, but that's the problem, isn't it? He is my boss. I'm not stupid. The voice teased her again. I am not going out with him again just to provoke Luca, she said. I'm not that petty. Silence. Then more teasing on the other end. Olivia chewed her lip. Look, he was nice, and I didn't feel unsafe with him. I don't know. I'll think about a second date, okay? Just think. No promises. She laughed softly. Yes, you can tell my cousin I'm considering it. She will have a party. The call ended. Olivia put the phone down and turned back to her computer. Inside his office, Luca stood still behind the door, hand on the handle, heart beating faster than he liked. He had gone to call her in again, but stopped when he heard her voice. A second date. With him. The thought landed heavy. He turned away from the door and walked back to his desk, each step slower than the last. He sat down, elbows resting on his knees, hands clasped. He had spent years controlling everything and everyone around him. Numbers, deals, routes, meetings, loyalties. Nothing surprised him anymore, but the idea of Olivia sitting across from that man again, laughing, wearing something nice, letting him touch her hand. That, somehow, was too much. Eric came in without knocking, a tablet in his hand. "I have the report on the guy," he said. "You want it now?" Luca lifted his head slowly. His eyes were darker than usual, but strangely calm, as if a decision had been made inside him, even if he hadn't said it out loud yet. "Yes," he answered. "I want to know who he is." He paused. "And I want to know why she thinks she needs someone like him, when she already has me." He did not realize he had said the last part out loud until Eric's eyebrows went up for a second. But the question was out now, hanging in the air like the first sign that things were about to change. For all of them. And especially for Olivia Parker. The next days moved slowly, almost painfully. Olivia tried to keep herself busy at work, pretending everything was normal, but Luca's cold silence followed her everywhere she went. He didn't snap at her, he didn't argue, he didn't tease, he didn't even look at her the same way. That was somehow worse. He acted like nothing had happened, like he hadn't found her in a restaurant, like he hadn't stood too close to her chair, like he hadn't asked for the man's name with fire in his eyes. She told herself she didn't care. She absolutely cared. By Friday afternoon, she was exhausted from overthinking. Her phone buzzed with a message from her cousin. "He's free tonight. You promised you'd think about a second dinner." Olivia stared at the text. A second date. Part of her wanted to run straight home, hide under a blanket and watch old movies until Monday. But another part, the stubborn part, refused to let Luca Rossi dictate her choices. He might be her boss, but he had no claim on her life. So she typed back, "Fine, dinner. 1 hour. That's it." She did not know that at that exact moment, Luca was in his office staring at the background check report on the man from the restaurant. His name was Ethan Brooks, 34, architect, no criminal record. Volunteered at a local community center. Nothing suspicious, nothing dangerous. Nothing Luca could use against him. He hated that. Eric stood by the door, waiting. "He looks clean," he said. Luca tapped the file with his finger. "Too clean. That means he's normal." Luca looked up slowly. "Do I look like I want normal anywhere near her?" Eric wisely stayed silent. Just then, Olivia walked past the office door, notebook in hand, heading to the print room. She didn't look inside, but the sight of her set something restless moving in Luca's chest. He watched her disappear down the hall. Eric noticed. "You could just talk to her, you know." "She went on a second date," Luca said, voice low. "That tells me enough." Eric opened his mouth to answer, then closed it. Nothing he could say would land safely. He waved the tablet lightly. "So, you want me to keep an eye on him?" Luca didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened. "No. If she wants him, watching him won't change anything." But when he said the words, his tone suggested the complete opposite. Olivia stood in front of her mirror, staring at herself like she was trying to solve a puzzle. She wasn't dressed fancy. Just a soft green top, black pants, simple heels. Nothing like the last date. Nothing like the dress she wore at the gala with Luca. She didn't want to send the wrong message. It wasn't a real date. It wasn't romantic. It was just a dinner. Her cousin texted again. "Be nice. He likes you." Olivia rolled her eyes. "Great," she muttered. "The one person I don't like likes me." She grabbed her bag and headed out. Ethan was already waiting at the table. He stood when he saw her. "Hey, Liv," he said with a warm smile. "Glad you came." Liv. He used that nickname again. She gave a polite smile. "Hi, Ethan." He pulled her chair out. He was sweet, considerate, polite. His gestures felt easy, gentle. She told herself she should want someone like him, someone simple, someone good. Someone who didn't bring danger or jealousy or 1,000 complications. But as she sat down, all she could think of was a dark pair of eyes watching her from across a restaurant. Ethan ordered drinks. They talked lightly about jobs, hobbies, travel. He told her about a cat he had recently adopted. She laughed, genuinely, even if her thoughts drifted away sometimes. Everything was fine, except the tension in her chest. He was already outside. In the passenger seat of his car, windows tinted, engine off, watching the front entrance of the restaurant with a stare so sharp it could cut glass. His men had tracked her location because Luca, without admitting it, had asked the kind of questions that always led to answers. He had convinced himself he wasn't here because of her. He was here to check the area. He didn't even believe his own lie. The moment he saw her walk in, something inside him twisted. Resentment, jealousy, confusion, all mixing into a storm he couldn't name. When Ethan leaned closer across the table, smiling, Luca's fingers curled into fists. When Olivia smiled back, Luca's breath slowed, then stopped for a second. When Ethan touched her arm lightly, Luca opened the car door. Eric grabbed his sleeve. "Boss? No. No, you cannot go in there." "I'm not going in," Luca said, voice calm but eyes burning. "I'm walking, that's different." Eric exhaled. "That's not different." But Luca was already out of the car. Olivia was stirring her drink when she sensed something, a presence, a shift in the air. She turned her head, and there he was, Luca Rossi, in a dark suit, open collar, sleeves rolled just enough to show the veins on his forearms. He wasn't walking fast, but he walked with purpose. Her chest dropped. "Is that your boss?" Ethan asked, following her gaze. "Yes," she whispered. Ethan smiled politely. "Should I say hi?" "No," she said too quickly. Ethan blinked. She shook her head. "Please just don't engage." But it was too late. Luca reached their table. He didn't look at Olivia first. He looked at Ethan, straight through him. "Good evening," Luca said, voice calm. Ethan smiled nervously. Hi, Mr. Rossi. Olivia told me you're—" "No, she didn't," Luca cut in. "She doesn't talk about me." Olivia's eyes widened. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "Okay." Luca's gaze stayed locked on him. "I assume this is the second dinner." Olivia's jaw dropped. "You assume correctly," she said sharply. "Because it's none of your—" "It is my business," Luca said without looking at her. "She works for me." Ethan blinked. "I work for someone too, man, but I don't follow her to restaurants." Olivia covered her face for a second. She wanted to sink into the floor. Luca's expression didn't change. "I did not follow anyone." Ethan raised both eyebrows. "You're here." "For dinner," Luca replied. "Oh?" Ethan gestured around. "Alone? In the same place? At the same time?" Olivia whispered. "Please stop talking." Ethan nodded. "Right, sorry." Luca finally shifted his eyes to Olivia. He wasn't angry. He wasn't cold. He was hurting. That was somehow worse. "Can we talk outside?" he asked her quietly. "No," she whispered. "We're in the middle of—" "I won't say it again," he said softly. Not threatening, not controlling, just desperate. Olivia stared at him. Then she saw what he was really asking. "Please." She stood slowly. 5 minutes, she told Ethan. Ethan nodded gently. "Take your time." They stepped out into the cool night air. Olivia crossed her arms, not because she was cold, but because she needed a shield. Luca paced once, then stopped in front of her. "What are you doing?" he asked, voice low. "Having dinner," she said. "Don't play with me." "You are the one playing games." She snapped. "You ignored me for days and now you show up here?" He lifted his head, frustrated. "I'm trying to understand why you need him." She blinked. "Ethan, he's kind, he's normal, and he doesn't make me feel like I'm failing every time I breathe wrong in the office." Luca looked like she had slapped him. "I I don't want to control your life, he said quietly. Then stop trying to. I'm not. You are, she insisted. You are controlling my choices because you don't like how they make you feel. He stepped closer. How they make me feel? Jealous, she said. He inhaled sharply. For the first time, he didn't deny it. You think this is about jealousy? He asked softly. What else would it be? He swallowed. His voice dropped. It's fear, Olivia. She froze. Fear of what? He hesitated. A long, painful silence. You, he finally whispered. Her heart stuttered. Me? You change things in my head, he said. In my routine, in my control. I don't know how to handle it. Olivia looked away, overwhelmed. Then something unexpected happened. The restaurant door opened. Ethan stepped out, holding his coat. Olivia? He asked gently. Is everything okay? Luca turned toward him instantly, shoulders straightening. But Ethan didn't step closer. He simply looked at Olivia with concern. Hey, he said quietly. Your cousin told me the truth. I wasn't supposed to say anything, but I'm not actually interested in dating you, Liv. Olivia blinked. Wait, what? Ethan laughed awkwardly. I mean, you're great, but your cousin begged me to take you out so you'd stop working late and get some fresh air. I thought you knew. What? No, nobody told me that. Luca stared at Ethan like he had spoken another language. Ethan continued. I wasn't flirting. I was trying to be friendly. And honestly, the guy you like, it's obviously not me. Olivia's face turned bright red. Ethan, he raised his hands. I won't say anything. Don't worry. Then he looked at Luca. You don't have to worry about me, he said simply. I was never competition. Luca stood completely still. Ethan smiled kindly at Olivia. I'll text your cousin. Good luck, Liv. And he walked away down the street. Silence filled the air. Olivia stared at the sidewalk. I didn't know, she whispered. I thought. You thought he liked you, Luca finished softly. She nodded. And you thought you had to move on, he added, voice even softer. She nodded again. Luca looked down for a moment, then back at her. You were trying to forget someone. Her throat tightened. Yes. His voice dropped to a whisper. Was it me? Olivia didn't answer. She didn't need to. He could see it in her eyes. Something shifted inside Luca. Something deep. Something final. He exhaled slowly, almost painfully, then stepped closer. Don't do that again, he said quietly. Do what? She whispered. Try to forget me. Her breath caught. He held her gaze a second longer, then turned, walked to his car, and got inside. The moment before the door closed, he looked at her one last time, like the world had just tilted in a direction he couldn't fight anymore. The car pulled away, leaving Olivia standing under the restaurant lights, with her heart pounding and her mind spinning. The truth was out now. There was no going back. The week after the second date felt strange. Nothing between Luca and Olivia exploded. There were no arguments, no dramatic speeches, no sudden declarations, but something had clearly shifted. He knew she had tried to forget him. She knew he was afraid of his own feelings. Neither of them could pretend things were normal anymore. Still, the office tried its best to act normal. On Monday morning, Olivia came in early as always. She placed her bag on her desk and opened her emails, but a small box on her keyboard stopped her. It was simple and black, with no name on it. She looked around. The floor was almost empty. Only a junior assistant and the cleaning staff walked in the distance. She opened the box. Inside, folded with care, was a new security badge and a small metal key. There was a note underneath, written in Luca's handwriting. For your door. Use it. L. Her apartment door. He had sent her a better lock and security upgrade last week after the scare on the street, and she had refused to accept it at first. She insisted she was fine. He didn't argue, but apparently he didn't drop it either. Now the key and badge sat in her hands. It wasn't a romantic gift. It wasn't jewelry or flowers. It was protection. It was his way of saying, I care without saying it with actual words. She placed the note back in the box and closed it, pressing it to her chest for a second. Morning, a low voice said. She looked up. Luca stood there, jacket over his arm, tie loose around his neck. He looked tired, as if he had not slept long, but his eyes were clear. Morning, she answered. His gaze dropped to the box in her hands. You got it? Yes. You will use it? Yes, she said again. Thank you. He gave a short nod. Good. For a second it seemed he wanted to say something else. Then he straightened his shoulders and moved toward his office. Before he reached the door, she spoke. Luca? He stopped and turned halfway. I didn't know, she said softly. About Ethan. About my cousin asking him to take me out. I thought it was real. I know, he replied. She frowned. How? I asked. He said. And then I listened. Her lips parted. He had listened. That alone meant more than she wanted to admit. He held her gaze for a silent moment. Come in when you have my schedule ready, he said, and went inside. The next days settled into a new rhythm. He didn't ignore her anymore. He didn't push her away. He called her into his office more often, but not always for work. Sometimes he would ask about her day in a tone that sounded almost casual. He would offer her coffee when he poured his. Once, he even handed her a muffin without looking at her, muttering, You forget to eat when you are stressed. She tried to tease him. So you watch my meals now? I watch everything, he replied. But this time there was a small hint of warmth in his eyes. They still argued sometimes. He could be demanding and overprotective. She could be stubborn and sharp. But there was less distance and more attention. They were both aware of it, especially at night. One evening, a heavy rain kept most employees from staying late. People rushed out early to avoid traffic. Only a few departments stayed on. Olivia thought about leaving too, but Luca's calendar was full, and she knew he would stay until things were done. By 8:30, the floor was almost empty. She was still at her desk, editing a report and checking a contract, when his door opened. Olivia, he called. Come in. She grabbed her notebook and walked inside. His jacket was off, sleeves rolled to his forearms, top buttons of his shirt undone. His tie lay on the desk, forgotten. The city lights behind him reflected on the glass. The office felt smaller with just the two of them in it. He stood by the table with a stack of files. I need to go through these numbers before tomorrow, he said. It will take time. I can help, she answered. That's my job. You already stayed too long. So did you. He watched her for a moment. Are you hungry? She blinked at the question. A little. Good, he said. I ordered food. She smiled despite herself. You decided that for me? Yes, he replied. You decide everything else. Let me have this one thing. She laughed quietly. The sound softened something in his chest. A knock came on the door. One of the guards brought in bags of takeout. Not fancy restaurant food. Simple pasta and salad from a place down the street. They sat at the small conference table and ate side by side. It was strangely peaceful. He told her about a ridiculous argument between two businessmen earlier that day. She told him about her cousin's endless messages asking for updates on the boss. She thinks you are mysterious, Olivia said. He raised an eyebrow. Is that her word or yours? She said it first, Olivia answered. I just agreed. And what is your word? He asked. She paused, then shrugged. Complicated. He chewed slowly, then nodded once. That is fair. They kept working after dinner, moving documents across the table, sharing pens, checking details. At one point, Olivia leaned over to reach a folder on his side. He reached for the same folder at the same time. Their fingers touched. The contact was small, barely anything, but it felt bigger than the space around them. Her breath stalled for a second. His hand stilled over hers. They both looked up at the same time. Her heart hammered. His eyes dropped to her lips for a fraction of a second, then went back to her eyes. He didn't step back. Neither did she. Luca, she said quietly. Yes. What are we doing? He held her gaze. Working. That's not what it feels like. He swallowed. He was close enough that she could see the small scar near his jawline, the faint stubble on his cheeks, the tension in his neck. Do you want me to move away? He asked. The question was simple, but it carried weight. She looked at his hand on hers, at the distance between their faces, at the quiet office around them, empty except for them and the sound of the rain against the windows. No, she admitted. His fingers turned, now holding her hand instead of just touching it. Warm, firm. Careful. He stepped closer. Her shoulder brushed his chest. Her back touched the edge of the table. His other hand started to rise, slowly, as if he wanted to cup her face but was afraid to rush. Olivia, he said, voice low, if I cross this line, I won't pretend anymore. Her chest tightened. Maybe I'm tired of pretending. The air between them thickened. His eyes flicked to her mouth again. He bent his head very slightly. Then a loud knock hit the door. They both jumped. Luca stepped back at once. Olivia pulled her hand to her side and looked everywhere except at him. Come in, Luca called, his voice rough. Eric opened the door, completely unaware of what he had interrupted. Sorry, boss. I know it's late, but you asked to see the latest numbers. Luca cleared his throat. Leave them. Eric placed the folder on the edge of the table. His eyes moved between Luca and Olivia for a brief second. Their flushed faces and awkward distance told him everything. He decided he did not want to die that night, so he said nothing. I'll be downstairs if you need anything, he added. When he left, the silence returned. Olivia tried to joke. Saved by spreadsheets. Luca let out a slow breath. He has the worst timing. She smiled, half embarrassed, half relieved. Maybe it was good. Good? Luca asked. She nodded. We work together. We should think before changing everything. He watched her closely. Do you regret it? We didn't do anything, she said. That is not what I asked. She hesitated. No, I don't regret almost doing something. I just think we should be careful. His jaw relaxed a little. Careful? I can do careful. You? She raised an eyebrow. I'm not sure. A small smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Stay a little longer, he said. Help me finish this. Then I'll take you home. Is that an order? She asked. Yes, he said. But it is also a request. She let out a small laugh. Fine, I'll allow it. They finished the work close to midnight. True to his word, he drove her home himself. No driver, no guard. Just the two of them in his car, the city lights passing outside. He parked in front of her building and turned off the engine, but didn't unlock the doors. You're quiet, she said gently. So are you. She looked at him. Thank you for tonight. We worked, he said. We also talked, she replied. And almost. He looked over, waiting. She shook her head. Forget it. He leaned on the steering wheel. I will not forget it. Her lips parted. He reached for her hand again, fingers brushing softly over her knuckles. Go upstairs, he said. Lock the door. Use the key I sent you. And if anything feels wrong, you call me. Not the police, not the building manager. Me. I can call all three, she said, trying to lighten the mood. He didn't smile this time. Call me first. There was something in his tone that made her nod without arguing. Okay, she whispered. I'll call you first. She stepped out of the car and walked to the entrance. When she turned back, he was still watching. She lifted her hand in a small wave. He responded with a short nod, waited until she was inside the building, then finally drove away. The next morning, Olivia found another envelope on her desk. This one had the company logo and Luca's initials in the corner. Inside was a formal invitation to a charity event. A black tie gala held by one of the organizations Luca supported. There was a note attached in the same careful handwriting. You will attend with me. Choose something you like. Don't argue. L. She stared at the note, half amused, half nervous. A fancy event, cameras, people watching. Her next to Luca in a formal setting. She walked into his office without knocking. He looked up from his laptop. "You forgot how doors work?" "You forgot how questions work," she answered, holding up the invitation. "You could have asked." He tilted his head slightly. "You would have said no." She opened her mouth to deny it, then closed it. That was probably true. "Why do you want me there?" she asked. "You manage my schedule," he replied. "You know everyone I have to meet. You keep me from wasting time. It is practical." She folded her arms. "So I'm a walking calendar." His eyes softened a little. "You are more than that." She swallowed. He continued, "I want you there. That is enough reason." It was a simple sentence, but her chest felt full. She tried to hide her reaction. "Fine, I'll go, but I choose the dress." "I already sent options to your email," he said. Her eyes widened. "You did what?" He turned the laptop a little toward her, showing a few photos of dresses open on the screen. "Pick one, or pick something completely different. I don't care what you wear. I just want you there." She shook her head, trying to bite back a smile. "You are impossible." "Yes," he said calmly. "You keep staying anyway." She walked out before he could see the full smile on her face. When the night of the event arrived, Olivia stood in front of her mirror again. This time, the dress was not simple. It was elegant, dark, and fitted in the right places, with thin straps and a clean neckline. Her hair was styled in soft waves that framed her face. Her makeup was natural, but enhanced her eyes. She barely recognized herself. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Luca. "Downstairs." She grabbed her small clutch and headed out. When she stepped out of the building, Luca was waiting by the car. For the first time since they met, he lost his composure for a second. His eyes widened just a little, and he actually forgot to say anything. "Hi," she said, nervous. He took a breath. "You look—" She waited. He cleared his throat. "Appropriate." She laughed. "That is the most romantic thing you've ever said to me." He seemed to catch himself. "You look beyond appropriate," he corrected. "You look very good." "Thank you," she said softly. He opened the door for her. His hand rested at the small of her back for a second as she got in. That small contact sent a wave of warmth up her spine. At the event, the venue was full of rich people, politicians, executives, and donors. Flashing cameras waited outside as guests stepped out of cars. Luca got out first, then offered his hand to help her. As she stepped onto the carpet, some heads turned. He leaned slightly toward her and spoke through his teeth. "You're fine. They don't matter." "I know," she whispered back, "but it's still a lot." He squeezed her hand lightly before letting go. Inside, the room was bright, full of soft music and quiet conversations. Luca moved through the crowd easily, greeting people with short nods and brief handshakes. Olivia stayed close, handing him details, reminding him of names and connections. They worked as a team, almost perfectly. People looked at them more than he liked. Some whispered. Some raised eyebrows. She could feel the questions in their eyes. Is that his assistant? Are they together? At one point, an older man joked, "You finally brought someone with you, Rossi. I was starting to think you'd marry your work." Luca gave a dry answer. "She is my work." The man laughed, not understanding there was more truth in that sentence than he realized. Later, during a quiet moment near the bar, Luca turned to Olivia. "You want to dance?" he asked. She blinked. "Here?" "Yes. That is what people do at these events." She hesitated. "I don't know if it's a good idea." "Why?" "Because—" She looked at the room full of eyes. "People will talk." "They already do," he said. "At least give them something accurate to talk about." Her heart jumped at the hidden meaning. He didn't wait longer. He held out his hand. She placed hers in it. On the dance floor, he pulled her close, one hand on her waist, the other holding her hand. Their bodies fit together in a way that felt natural, like they had done this 100 times. They moved slowly, no rush, no fancy steps. Just two people traveling in a small circle, focusing on each other while the rest of the room blurred. "Are you nervous?" he asked. "A little," she admitted. He bent his head closer. "Focus on me." "I already do," she said. He smiled, a real soft smile that almost no one ever saw. For a brief moment, nothing else existed. No business, no danger, no past, no future. Just his hand on her waist, her palm resting on his shoulder, his eyes on hers. If he kissed her then, she would not have stopped him. But he didn't. He simply held her and danced. And for now, that was enough. They stayed longer than planned. By the time they left, several people had taken photos and videos on their phones. Some asked for pictures with Luca. A few captured him with Olivia at his side, handing him a drink or whispering something meant only for him. He drove her home again. She thanked him for the night. He said, "Good night, Olivia," in a tone that made the simple words feel heavier. After she went inside, he returned to his penthouse. His phone vibrated just as he took off his jacket. It was a message from Eric. "Boss, you need to see this." Luca called him. "What is it?" he asked. "I sent links to your email," Eric said. "People posted pictures from the event already." He paused. "And some are about you, and her." Luca opened his email on his laptop. Several headlines from smaller blogs and social accounts filled the screen. Who is the woman with Luca Rossi? Mysterious assistant or secret girlfriend? Is the king of the city finally in love? Most of the photos were harmless. Olivia laughing at something he said. Him looking at her instead of at the camera. Them dancing, too close to be just work. But in one of the photos, the angle was clear. His hand on her waist, her face lifted toward him, their bodies close. Eric's voice came through the speaker. "Boss, if anyone wants to hurt you, they'll go for her first now. She's visible." Luca stared at the screen. He had wanted the world to stop seeing her as just staff. He had wanted her close. He had wanted to show, even without saying it, that she mattered. Now he understood the price. His hand curled slowly into a fist on the desk. For the first time, the fear he had warned her about stopped being a distant worry and became real. Keeping her close meant she was no longer in the shadows, and he knew exactly what that could mean. The chapter of pretending was ending. The next one would demand a choice. The next morning, Olivia felt different. Last night's gala still lingered inside her, his hand on her waist, the dance, the way he looked at her as if she were the only person in the room. She woke up smiling, the kind of smile she tried to hide even from herself. But that feeling didn't survive the first 5 minutes at work. She stepped off the elevator expecting Luca to be in his office early as usual. Instead, the entire floor felt colder, quieter. The blinds to his office were closed. His door was shut. His guards stood outside like statues. She sat at her desk and checked his calendar. Meeting canceled, calls postponed, internal briefing removed. Her stomach tightened. Something was wrong. Eric exited Luca's office with a tense look. He saw her and stopped for a second, hesitating. "Is he okay?" Olivia asked. Eric adjusted his earpiece. "It's just a heavy day, that's all." He said it gently, but his eyes gave away more. He knew something, and he knew she felt it too. "Did he sleep at all?" she asked quietly. Eric exhaled. "Probably not." He walked away without giving more information. Olivia turned to her computer, but she couldn't focus. Her heart beat too fast and too hard for her to pretend nothing happened. Last night they had danced like two people who had already chosen each other. Today he was shutting her out. She waited an hour before knocking lightly on his door. No answer. She tried again. Nothing. She pressed her palm against the door, hearing faint movement inside. She hesitated, then whispered, "Luca, can you hear me?" For a moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then his voice came through the door, calm, controlled, distant. "Later." One word. Not even directed at her. Just later. She stepped back slowly. Something cold settled in her chest, removing the warmth she'd brought from last night. Luca finally emerged from his office. He wore a different suit, dark gray, pressed, formal. and his expression had returned to the cold, unreadable one she knew from her first days working for him. Everyone straightened when he walked by. He walked fast, didn't greet anyone, didn't look at Olivia at all. Eric followed with a tablet. "The car is ready." "Good," Luca said. "Do you want Olivia to—" "No." That single word sliced through the hallway. Olivia stood frozen at her desk. He didn't even want her to join the meeting. She always joined the meetings. She was his right hand, his voice of organization, the only person who could anticipate needs before he spoke them. Her throat tightened. "Luca," she called softly. He stopped mid-step. Slowly, he looked back at her. His eyes were tired, distant, almost hollow. "What happened?" she whispered. He held her gaze for a second. 1 second too long, 1 second too honest. Then he looked away. "Nothing you need to worry about," he said. But his voice cracked on the last word. He turned and walked to the elevator. When the doors closed, Olivia sank into her chair. Her eyes stung. She blinked fast. He was blocking her out. Again. And this time she didn't know why. The office felt heavy without him. People whispered. Some asked her if something happened at the gala. She ignored them all and tried to work, but her mind kept replaying the way he left. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. At 5:30 she gave up pretending she could concentrate. She grabbed her coat and decided to go out for air. She didn't care about protocol. She needed to breathe. She stepped outside the building and walked toward the corner coffee shop. The sky was fading to evening. The sidewalks glowed with orange light from the street lamps. Olivia waited in line for a coffee, rubbing her arms as if the air was colder than it really was. She got her drink, stepped outside, and started walking back to the office. Still unsure if she should go home or confront Luca when he returned. She never got the chance to decide. A shadow followed her. At first she thought she imagined it. Olivia was cautious but not paranoid. She kept walking. Footsteps followed at the same rhythm. When she stopped briefly to toss her empty coffee cup, the steps behind her also stopped. Her breath caught. She started walking faster. The steps behind her picked up. Her heart raced. She turned down another street, toward a busier block, but the figure behind her continued. She kept one hand inside her bag, ready to grab her phone. Her pulse hammered in her ears. The night air felt thicker, heavier. Then, "Miss Parker," she nearly screamed. A figure stepped out from behind a parked car. It wasn't the person following her. It was one of Luca's men. Tall, broad shoulders, earpiece. Black jacket with the Rossi security crest on the sleeve. She froze. "You scared me." "Apologies," he said. "Boss asked me to watch you." She stared at him. "Tonight?" He nodded. "Why?" "Because of the photos, ma'am." Her chest tightened. "What photos?" The guard pulled up a screen on his phone and showed her. Images from the gala. Her and Luca dancing. Her and Luca walking together. Her hand on his arm. The photo that hurt the most, because it felt too honest, was one of Luca looking at her like she was the only thing in the room. People had commented, speculated, assumed. "He asked me to follow you," the guard said, "in case someone used the photos to get close." Olivia swallowed, her throat tight. "He didn't tell me. He didn't want you to worry." The guard looked over her shoulder and frowned. "Please step aside." She moved quickly. A man walked past, the same one who had been following her. But when he saw the guard, he crossed the street and disappeared around a corner. "You see?" the guard said calmly. "Better not walk alone tonight." Her heart beat faster, not from fear this time, but from something else. Luca had been distant. Luca had ignored her. Luca had shut her out. But he had still sent protection. He still watched over her. He still cared. She stormed into the building. Her steps echoed through the lobby. She took the elevator without waiting for anyone else, tapping her foot the entire ride up. When she reached the top floor, Luca's office lights were on. She didn't knock. She pushed the door open. Luca stood behind his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled, tie loosened. He lifted his head the second she entered. His eyes widened, just slightly, like he hadn't expected her. like he didn't know whether to pull her closer or push her away. "Olivia," he said cautiously. She marched toward his desk. "Why didn't you tell me someone might follow me?" He stiffened. "You were followed?" Your guard scared him away. Luca's jaw clenched, his hand curled into a fist. He took 2 steps around the desk, breathing harder. "Did he touch you?" he asked, voice sharp. "No." "Did he say anything to you?" "No." "But you were scared." "I was surprised," she corrected. "You were scared." His voice lowered. "I can hear it." She stared at him, chest rising and falling. "Why didn't you tell me?" Luca looked away. "I didn't want to make it worse." "You made it worse by lying," she shot back. "You shut me out. Again. Always." His shoulders tensed. He looked at her now, really looked at her. "You shouldn't have gone alone," he said. "You know better." "Don't do that," she shot back, stepping closer. "Don't make this about what I should or shouldn't do." He stared down at her, breathing uneven. "You're angry," he said. "Yes," she replied, "and hurt." "Hurt?" he repeated softly. "You pushed me away," she said, voice tight. "After the gala, after the dance, after everything." He closed his eyes briefly. Then he said the thing he had been hiding. "I saw the photos." She waited. "And I saw the comments," he continued. "People asking who you are, calling you my weakness, my soft point, my distraction." "Distraction," she echoed. He nodded once. "Distractions get killed in my world." Her breath caught. He opened his eyes, dark, serious, aching. "I would rather you hate me than put you in danger, Olivia." Her anger melted into something softer, something sadder. "You think I can't decide what's dangerous for me?" she whispered. He took a step toward her, then another, until he stood right in front of her. "No," he said. "I think you are too good to realize how dangerous I am. And I think you are using that as an excuse." He looked away, jaw tightening. "Luca," she said softly, "if you want me to leave, say it." His head shot up. "What?" "Say it," she repeated. "If that's what you want, I'll walk out of here tonight, for good." His breath stopped. She waited. He didn't speak, so she stepped back. "Okay," she whispered. "I understand." She turned toward the door. She made it 2 steps before he moved. Luca grabbed her wrist, not hard, not controlling, but desperate. "Don't," he said. His voice was raw, unsteady, completely unguarded. She turned to him slowly. He loosened his grip but didn't let go. His thumb brushed her skin like he was afraid she might disappear. "You don't get to leave," he whispered. "Not because of this. Not because of me." She stared up at him, her heart pounding. "Then stop pushing me away," she said. He swallowed, eyes moving between her eyes and her lips. "If I let myself feel everything," he whispered, "I might never let you go." Her breath caught in her throat. "Maybe I don't want you to," she admitted. His expression broke, just for a moment, not with anger, not with fear, with relief. He lifted her hand gently, bringing her closer. Not kissing her, not touching her face, just holding her hand in his, as if this tiny contact was the only thing holding him together. They stood like that in silence, 2 people fighting the world, fighting themselves, fighting the gravity between them. Then Olivia did something she had never done before. She leaned her forehead against his chest. He froze. Then slowly, carefully, like the moment was holy, he wrapped his arms around her. She felt his breath on her hair, his heart beating hard, his hands shaking just slightly as they held her. "Stay a little longer," he whispered. She nodded against him. "I'm here," she said. But even held in his arms, she knew something important had changed. He wasn't just afraid of losing control. He was afraid of losing her. And for the first time in her life, Olivia realized she might be afraid of losing him too. After their embrace in Luca's office, everything changed, yet nothing was officially said. They didn't kiss, they didn't cross the line. But the way they held on to each other made clear that the line was already fading. Olivia went home that night with her heart pounding so hard she barely slept. She replayed the moment over and over, the way his chest felt under her forehead, the way his breath trembled, the way he whispered, "Don't leave." Luca went home and stared at the ceiling for hours, unable to turn off the storm in his mind. He had tried to push her away to keep her safe. Instead, he had almost lost the only person he trusted, the only one he wanted. By morning, both were exhausted. But for the first time, neither dreaded seeing the other. Olivia walked into the office and was surprised to find Luca already standing by her desk. He wasn't holding papers. He wasn't checking his phone. He wasn't pretending to be there for business. He was just waiting. "Good morning," he said quietly. She swallowed, suddenly aware of how close he was. "Good morning." He nodded at her coffee cup. "Eat something too. You didn't last night." She blinked. "You noticed?" "I notice everything," he said, softer than before. "Especially when it's you." Her heart fluttered, but she held herself steady. "You don't have to watch me that closely," she said. "Yes," he replied. "I do." She didn't argue this time. He stepped back a little. "Come see me in 10 minutes. We need to review some numbers." She nodded, and he walked away, but not before giving her a look that lingered 1 second too long. They worked together all morning, but the work didn't feel like the real reason they were in the same room. Every time Luca leaned over her shoulder, her breath caught. Every time she passed him papers, his fingers brushed hers in a way that felt too intentional to be an accident. Their conversations were normal. Their eyes were not. When she stood to leave after finishing a set of documents, Luca spoke without looking up. "Don't make plans after hours." She froze. "Why not?" "Because I need to see you," he said simply. She swallowed. "For work?" He looked at her then. Really looked at her, and the meaning was clear. "No," he said. "Not for work." Her chest tightened. She walked out before she said something reckless. By the time the office emptied, rain hammered the windows. Olivia stayed late, pretending she had a reason, but the truth was obvious even to her. She was waiting for him. At nearly 9, Luca opened his office door and stood there for a moment, as if deciding something. "Come inside," he said. She followed him in, closing the door behind her. The rain softened into a quiet rhythm, making the room feel isolated from the rest of the world. "You wanted to talk?" she asked. He nodded but didn't sit. Instead, he stepped closer, slow, careful, unsure in a way she had never seen from him. "Last night," he began, "I said things I shouldn't have said. And I didn't say things I should have." She stayed still, waiting. He rubbed the back of his neck. "I don't know how to do this, Olivia. I never had to explain myself to someone before. You don't have to be perfect," she said softly. "Just honest." He took a breath. "Fine," he said. "Honest then." He moved closer, his voice low. "When I held you last night, I didn't want to let go. I haven't stopped thinking about it all day." She felt heat spread through her chest. He continued. "I'm afraid of what I feel when you look at me. I'm afraid of how I react when I see you with someone else. I'm afraid of how easily you can undo everything I built." Her heart squeezed. "Luca, and I'm afraid," he said, stepping 1 more inch closer, "that if I let myself want you the way I want to, you'll regret it." She blinked. "Why would I regret it?" He stared at her in disbelief. "Because I am who I am. Because my life is dangerous. Because my world is not soft. And because when I want something, I don't do it halfway." "Maybe I don't want halfway," she whispered. His eyes darkened, not with anger this time, but with something deeper, something she had felt building for weeks. He lifted his hand slowly, giving her a chance to pull away. She didn't. His fingertips brushed her cheek, light as a breath. Her skin warmed under his touch. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. She didn't. "Olivia," he said again, his voice dropping. "Tell me to stop." "I don't want you to stop," she answered. That was all it took. He moved forward, closing the remaining distance. His hand slid gently behind her head. Her fingers gripped the fabric of his shirt. Their foreheads touched. She felt his breath on her lips. Slow, shaky, almost reverent. He wasn't kissing her, not yet. He was asking for permission with every breath. "Luca," she whispered. He let out a low sound, almost a groan, and finally pressed his mouth to hers. The kiss started careful, soft, testing, but the moment she kissed him back, something inside both of them broke open. Luca pulled her closer, one hand at her waist, the other behind her neck. She melted against him, feeling the warmth of his body, the strength in his arms, the way he held her like she was something precious. When they parted for air, he rested his forehead against hers again. "I knew it," he murmured. "I knew it would feel like this." She smiled breathlessly. "Like what?" "Like something I can't walk away from." She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her fingers traced his jaw, and he closed his eyes as if even that small touch overwhelmed him. They shared more kisses, deep, tender, slow, each one dissolving the last pieces of fear between them. Nothing rushed, nothing heavy, only warmth, closeness, and the kind of intimacy that grows from wanting someone with your entire heart. At one point, she whispered, "I'm scared too." He kissed her forehead. "Of me?" "No," she said quietly. "Of how much I want this." His hands tightened gently on her waist. "Then we're both scared." He rubbed his thumb along her cheek. "But I'm not letting fear choose for me anymore." They sat on the couch afterward, still close, still touching, his arm around her, her head on his shoulder. He wasn't the Mafia boss right now. He wasn't the figure people feared. He was simply Luca, a man learning what it felt like to hold someone without losing himself. "I don't want to hide what I feel anymore," he said. "Then don't," she whispered. His eyes softened. "But I need you to understand this part. I will always protect you. Even when you think I'm pushing you away. Even when you think I'm being cold. That is never rejection. That is fear." She lifted her head. "I want your honesty, Luca. Not your distance." He nodded. "You'll have it." He hesitated before saying the next sentence. "I'm already making changes," he said. "Stepping away from the worst parts of my business, carefully, quietly. I want a life that doesn't put you in danger every time you stand beside me." Her breath caught. "Because of me?" "Because of us," he corrected. "Or what I hope we could become." She touched his chest. "I'm here. I'm trying. But we go slow. We talk. We listen. And we decide things together." "I can do that," he said. She smiled. "I know you can." He exhaled, relieved. "I want something better with you, something real." She rested against him again. "Me too." They stayed like that until it was late enough that the world outside felt distant and irrelevant. The rain eased. The office grew quiet. Before she left, he kissed her again, slow, warm, grateful. At her door, he pressed her key into her palm. "Call me if anything feels wrong," he said. "I'll come." "I know," she whispered. "And—" His voice softened. "Call me even if everything is fine." She smiled. "I'll do that too." Later that night, lying in his own bed for the first time in days, Luca replayed every moment. The way she kissed him, the way she trembled slightly when he held her, the way she whispered his name like it belonged only to her. He had made a decision long before he admitted it out loud. Now he had to make it clear. The next time he held her in his arms, he would not let the moment end without asking the question forming in his mind now. "If I build a safer life, if I step away from the shadows, would you stay with me? Would you choose me?" But that question would come later. For now he fell asleep with one thought steady in his heart. He was done pretending he didn't love her. Weeks passed, but this time they didn't pass in silence or tension. They passed in small, quiet changes. Luca didn't wake up thinking only about numbers, meetings, and control anymore. He woke up wondering if Olivia had slept well, if she had breakfast, if she would smile when she saw him that morning. He still ran his world. He still gave orders, made decisions, and carried the weight of too many secrets. But now there was one person he let see past all of that. Her. One Tuesday, Olivia walked into the office and caught Luca already waiting at her desk with 2 coffees in his hands. "You're early," she said. "You're usually earlier," he replied. "You're 5 minutes late." She frowned. "Really?" "Yes," he said, but his tone was warm. "I watched the clock." She took one of the cups, trying not to smile too hard. "Looks like someone missed me." "I miss you every time you're not in the room," he answered without thinking. Her heart skipped, and his eyes widened just a little. He realized he had said the truth out loud. Instead of pulling back, he let it stay. "That was honest," she said softly. "You asked me to be honest," he replied. "I'm trying." "You're doing well," she whispered. He held her gaze for a second, then nodded toward his office. "Review the schedule, then come in. We have a lot to go through." "Yes, boss," she said, teasing. He leaned closer and dropped his voice. "You know you can't call me that when we're alone." She smirked. "Why not?" "Because I will lock the door," he said simply. Her cheeks warmed. "Understood." Jealousy didn't disappear. It changed. One afternoon, Olivia went out to get lunch from a nearby cafe. The line was long. She checked her phone, answered a few emails, and stepped forward when it moved. A man behind her cleared his throat. "Sorry, I know this is random, but have we met? You look familiar." She turned. He was around her age, maybe a little older. Casual clothes, friendly expression. "I don't think so," she said politely. "Maybe I just have one of those faces," he joked. "Or maybe you're secretly famous." She laughed lightly. "Definitely not." "Are you sure?" he asked. "Because you look like someone who ruins a lot of men's plans." She shook her head, amused. "That's a strange line." "Is it working?" he asked. "No," she said, still smiling. He raised his hands in surrender. "Worth a try. I'm Mark, by the way." "Olivia," she answered out of habit. "Nice to meet you, Olivia," he said. "If you're not having lunch with anyone, maybe we could—" Someone stepped up beside her. Tall, dark suit, quiet intensity. Luca. He placed a hand gently at the small of her back, not possessive, not rough, just there. "She's having lunch with me," he said calmly. Mark's eyes widened. He looked from Luca to Olivia, then back at Luca. "Oh, I didn't mean any disrespect." Olivia gave a small, apologetic smile. "It's okay, thank you." Mark nodded and stepped back in line. Luca didn't say anything until they had their food and sat at a corner table. "You handled that well," Olivia said softly. "I didn't threaten him," Luca answered. "That is progress." She laughed. "Yes, that is progress." His eyes softened. "Did you like that he tried?" She thought about it. "No," she said honestly. "I liked that I didn't feel tempted at all. That's new." His jaw relaxed. "I never want you to feel trapped with me," he said. "If you ever want to leave, you can." She met his eyes. "I don't." "Good," he replied quietly. "Because I am not planning to let you go." She held his gaze. "That goes both ways, you know." A slow smile touched his lips. "I can live with that." Slowly, he began to change the way he ran his world. He didn't talk to Olivia about every detail. He didn't want to drag her into business she didn't need to know. But he told her the parts that mattered. "I'm cutting ties with some people," he said one night in his office while she reviewed a contract. "Moving money around, closing old routes. It won't be instant, but I'm making it smaller, cleaner." She looked up. "Because of me?" "Because of me," he corrected first. "Because I'm tired. And because of you. Because I want to be something you can stand next to in the light, not just in the shadows." Her chest tightened. "I don't need you to become perfect, Luca. I just need you to try." "I'm trying," he said, "more than I ever have for anything." She stood and walked around the desk until she was close enough to touch him. She reached out and fixed his tie, one of those little things she always did for him. "I see it," she whispered, "and I'm proud of you." No one had said those words to him in a long time, maybe ever. He pulled her into his arms and held her there, letting her words sink in like medicine. One evening, he picked her up from her apartment instead of meeting her at the office. She walked down, expecting a casual dinner or maybe a quiet night in. When she stepped out, he was leaning against his car, wearing a dark suit, open collar, no tie. His eyes moved over her slowly, from her simple dress to her heels. "You're beautiful," he said without hesitation. She smiled. "You told me it was just dinner." "It is," he answered, "but I don't do just anything with you." "Where are we going?" she asked. He opened the car door for her. "You'll see." The drive was quiet but comfortable. She watched the city pass by, lights painting lines on the windows. At some point she realized they were heading toward a familiar street. Her heart started to beat faster. The car stopped in front of the restaurant where everything had begun. The same place, the same entrance, the same windows. Her chest squeezed. "Luca!" He came around to open her door, offering his hand. "Trust me," he said. She took it. Inside, the restaurant looked different. Quieter, softer. There were no other guests, no noise, just candles and low music. "You rented the whole place?" she asked, surprised. "Yes," he replied simply. "That's a lot. For you it's nothing," he said. Then he paused and corrected himself. "No, for you it's the first of many." She looked at him, warmth spreading through her. They sat at a table. The table. The same spot where she had once sat with Ethan, unaware that her boss was watching with jealousy that nearly burned through his control. Memories flashed between them without needing words. "Do you remember that night?" she asked. "I remember every second," he said. "Me too." He poured wine for both of them, then let his fingers rest over hers on the table. "I was angry," he said quietly. "I kept asking myself, who is this guy?" Over and over. "And now?" she asked. "Now," he said, eyes steady on hers, "I don't care who anyone else is. I only care who I am to you." Her throat tightened. "And who are you to me?" she asked softly. He held her gaze, and for once he didn't hesitate. "I want to be the man you choose," he said. "Every day, not just at work, not just in secret. Fully." Tears filled her eyes. "Luca," she whispered. He stood and moved around the table, reaching for her hand to help her stand too. When she was in front of him, he took both of her hands in his. "I can't promise you a perfect life," he said. "I can't promise you that everything will be easy. But I can promise you this. I will spend every day trying to make you feel safe, loved, and chosen. And I will keep changing my world until it is a place where you can walk beside me without fear." Her tears fell now, soft and quiet. "I don't need perfect," she said. "I never did. I just needed you to be honest." "I'm being honest now," he said. "I love you, Olivia." The words landed like something solid and real between them. She smiled through her tears. "Took you long enough." He let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh, then touched her cheek with gentle fingers. "I love you too," she said. "I tried not to. I tried to forget. I went on dates just to see if I could want someone else. It didn't work." "Good," he murmured. She laughed softly. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small box. Not flashy, not oversized, just simple, dark, and serious. Her breath hitched. "This is not pressure," he said. "It's not a command, it's a question." He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Elegant, not overly large, but clearly chosen with care. Her hand shook. "Luca." He held the box with one hand and her fingers with the other. "You don't have to answer tonight," he said, "or this month, or this year. I know your life changed the day you walked into my office. I won't take your choices away from you. But I wanted you to know what I see when I look at you." "What do you see?" she whispered. "My future," he said simply. "If you want it." She stared at him. At the ring, at the man who had gone from cold, distant boss to someone willing to rearrange his entire life for her. "I don't need time," she said, voice trembling. "I've been answering this question in my heart for weeks." He swallowed. "Is that a yes?" She nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. Yes, Luca. It's a yes. He slid the ring onto her finger with careful hands. It fit perfectly. He leaned forward and kissed her. Slow, deep, full of every feeling they had been holding back for so long. No more secrets, no more pretending, no more half-steps. When they pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. Do you realize what this means? She said, smiling. You can't scare off every man that looks at me now. You'll have to trust me too. I already do, he said, but I reserve the right to be jealous. She laughed. As long as you handle it like today at the cafe. I behaved, he said. Mostly. She chuckled. You did. He brushed her hair back gently. I still remember how it felt when I walked in here the first time and saw you with someone else. The question in my head was loud. Who is this guy? Why is she with him? And now? She asked. Now I don't ask that question anymore, he said. Because I know who you're with. Who? She teased softly. Me, he answered. And I'm never letting anyone take that away from us. She looked down at her hand, at the ring, then back at him. Good, she said, because I'm not planning to let you go either. Weeks later, people still whispered about them. Some said she had changed him. Others said he had finally found something worth changing for. Neither of them cared. On a quiet Sunday morning, Olivia stood in his kitchen in one of his shirts, making coffee while he watched from the doorway, arms folded, expression relaxed in a way it never was in public. You're staring, she said without turning. I'm allowed, he replied. You said yes. She smiled, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. Do you regret it? He asked. She turned and leaned against the counter, holding out his cup. Saying yes? She asked. Never. He took the mug and stepped closer, nudging her chin up with his fingers. Then we're fine, he said. More than fine, she answered. He kissed her softly and pulled her into his arms, holding her the way he had wanted to that first night in the restaurant, but hadn't known how. Now he knew. This was what he had been afraid of, losing control, losing the walls, letting someone walk into the most guarded place inside him. But as he held her, as she rested her head against his chest and relaxed completely in his arms, he realized something important. He hadn't lost control. He had finally chosen the right thing to hold on to, and for the rest of his life, when anyone looked at Olivia and wondered who the man at her side was, there would be no doubt. He would be the one who had once asked, "Who is this guy?" and now knew, without fear or confusion, he was her mafia boss. And more than that, he was her partner. Her home, her choice, and she was his, always. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.